Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 2 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So, first episode went pretty well, won a lot of quick games, and got my rating up to 567. So, we'll try and keep it going today, and just a small reminder that all my opponents who I do beat will receive a rating refund. I am playing on an authorized speedrun account. So, let's hop into the first game. Alright, first opponent playing Cole 8. I'll be sticking with e4 for a good chunk of the games, at least early on in the series. Opponent probably needs to say, "Oh no, my queen." This is very generous. f6, I could play queen h5, but then there's g6, so let's save the bishop. I think queen g5 was actually the worst possible move in that position. But common beginner mistake, bringing out the queen too early. In this case, I'm okay bringing out my queen. It's not hanging, can't easily be attacked, even though my opponent is trying to prove me wrong. I can take the knight. And I'm going to try and get this game over with as quickly as possible. Go for the check against the king. Yeah, no mercy. This is checkmate. Okay. Yeah, kind of a brutal game for my opponent, but an important life lesson. Don't give away your queen for free. The better move is to take. I was ready to play a Danish Gambit, but we'll have to wait maybe a bit later for that. Let's keep it going. Playing Zami Gorinch, 97. And I'll probably mix up my openings against e4, but we do have the Wayward Queen Attack. So my opponent's going to try and checkmate me in 4 moves. I'm not going to fall for it. And this is not only like the most solid way to play, but this is one of the most aggressive ways to play for black. Because I'm developing the knights as quickly as possible while defending against white's threat. And next move, I probably want to play this. There's an option of pawn d5 as well. But knight d4 is nice, because I hit the queen. I also hit the c2 pawn, which is undefended. And now white has to be a bit careful to save the queen and the pawn. And now I'm going to play d5 to keep my threats coming. I was attacking the g4 pawn. White counterattacks my knight. I'm going to take on e4. I have 2 pawns and 2 knights smack in the center. I'm still attacking the bishop. I'm also attacking the g5 pawn twice. So I know this this Wayward Queen attack is very popular at the lower levels, but yeah, it's very useful to know how to diffuse it and then punish it. So c3. Any ways to be tricky here? I think I'll just take the bishop, allow black to take the knight, and then take with the queen. Threatening mate. White has to be very careful. Knight h3 would attempt to defend, but allow bishop h3. And with a pawn on c4, it helps support the square, but okay, that's not relevant. That's checkmate. GG. Yeah, it's a fun opening to punish. I won't be surprised if I run into this again, especially around this rating level. But knight c6 is the best approach. Defend the e5 pawn, and then just make sure that f7 cannot be captured. The knight obstructs the queen, is defended. There is a line here which I'll go ahead and show. I've showed this in previous videos, but if white plays queen to b3, creating the battery against f7, then there's a really nice idea for black not to defend f7. Queen e7 is totally fine, but the strongest move is knight to d4, attacking the queen, allowing white to take with check, and then bomb cloud. And then white's in a pickle here because the queen's attacked. It's tied down to defending the bishop. If queen to c4, there's b5. And this is another nice example of how to completely punish this opening. So queen is going to be driven away from defending the bishop. There's no squares on the diagonal to keep defending the bishop. So 2 games, finishing pretty quick. Let's keep it going. Playing Papor, rated 608. And are we going to have another Wayward Queen? No, we have Knight of 3. I'll try and get a Stafford Gambit. This is the first Stafford of the speedrun. We did have a 4 knights in the first episode, but Stafford Gambit accepted. Play bishop c5. And we'll see if white can fend off my threats. I'm threatening knight g4. And bishop c4 is a very natural move, but it's a very big mistake for white, because now f2 is under fire, and yeah, if castling, there's queen h4. This is one of the classic traps in the Stafford, and white's already pretty much losing because I'm threatening mate on h2. I'm also threatening f2 3 times. And I've had this position probably dozens of times before. The best try is pawn h3, and then I'll take on f2 with a knight. And now I'm threatening some pretty nasty discoveries against the white king. Yeah, white is threatening f7, but I'm the first to strike. This is double check. A king has 2 legal moves. Both moves will align with my queen on the h-file, and if I want, I could pre-move knight f2, but yeah, I won't be pre-moving in rapid chess, at least so far. And the thing to know about double check is the king has to move. There's never a way to capture or block a double check. Now, this is discover check. White has 2 legal moves. There's queen h3 or king g1. King g1 is mate in 1. Okay. So hopefully a nice example of how to win quickly with the Stafford Gambit. Yeah, this is a very easy position for white to go wrong. Bishop c4 is probably one of the most common beginner mistakes in this opening. And I've even faced this against titled players who are not aware of the danger of knight g4. And just to show one other line, if white tries queen f3 here to counterattack f7, then there's a very strong move, knight e5, to not only defend, but to attack the queen and the bishop. This would pretty much force queen to e2. And then black can continue applying pressure with queen h4. And the idea is to make the queen overworked. So one threat is to take, and then if queen takes, then black wins f2. The other idea is to play bishop g4 to harass the queen. And it's not easy for white to find a move here. Like if pawn d3 to defend the bishop, bishop g4, and white gets in a very awkward position, like queen f1, take, castle. This is just one example of my deeper Stafford Gambit preparation. So anyway, nice game. Let's keep it going. 3 for 3 for this episode. And I'm realizing my rating's increasing at a pretty rapid rate. But maybe that's just the nature of this rating level. Winning games quickly. Okay, we have another Wayward Queen Attack. So it's time to punish this. Play pawn g6. Make sure I'm not spazzing out. Defend against the mate. Are we going to see queen to b3? Yeah, g4 is the other like common move where white tries to remove the knight to get to f7. But white plays knight c3. Okay. So I think I'll continue in a similar fashion as a previous game. Knight to d4. Attack the queen. Attack the c2 pawn. Now knight c3 is probably one of the better moves for white. Because it's developing, and this whole plan of playing d5 probably isn't as effective without a pawn on g4. But white plays queen d3. Now this is a move I do want to punish. I'm actually thinking if I can get in d5 and white takes and I play bishop f5. d5, knight takes, takes. Does it lead to anything? It's probably better to play c6 first. But because this is a tricks and traps speedrun, I'm going to play d5. This is not the traditional, like, solid, slow build-up chess. This is the going for your throat type of chess. And even though I do lose a pawn, the position opens up. And the hope is that I'll have some tactics at some point. Although, where are my tactics? Maybe now c6, attack the knight. Yeah, let's play c6, get the knight out of there, and then I'll focus on development. I guess the knight could move back to e3. And then that preserves the idea of c3. But I do want to be as aggressive as possible here. If knight c3, I'll probably develop, maybe look to play f5. Wow, white counterattacks. That's interesting. The drawback of this move is it leaves a queen undefended. And now I can move my knight. And I'm still attacking this knight. And the knight is kind of pinned to the queen. Now I say kind of pinned because it could move to defend the queen. Knight b4 is probably the best way to try and hold things together here. Yeah, any other move, like knight e3 loses a queen, knight f4 loses a knight. The knight check is off limits. So we'll see if white can find this move. And I'm trying to decide, like, if white does find this move, what is my response? Because if I take the knight, white does find it. If I take the knight, white trades queens, and it doesn't seem like anything special. And it will be a theme in this series that I don't like to trade queens, because having queens on the board usually leads to quicker attacks, more opportunities to checkmate quickly. So I'm playing queen b6, maybe setting up this and create the battery against f2. I also like the prospect of knight f4 to attack the queen and the undefended g2 pawn. I should also note I am attacking the knight twice on b4, so maybe in some cases I could win back my pawn. White plays queen c4. So defending the knight. If I attack the knight moves back. So I'm going to play knight f4. And this move is multi-purpose. Of course it attacks g2, but I'm also unleashing my bishop, and I want to play bishop to e6. And develop with tempo to attack the queen. White actually allows me to take, but d3 takes away the getaway for the queen. And this is now trapping the queen. The queen is kind of boxed in by its own army. And I'm controlling all these squares. Now there is one attempt, bishop e3, to counterattack. But then I can take on g2 with check, and then take the bishop, and the queen will still be trapped. So it took a little bit more work this game, but again, punishing the opponent for bringing out their queen early and not being careful. Okay, knight d5. This is actually maybe one of the best moves to lose a knight rather than the queen. Of course, I'm happy to take it. The queen will escape. Life will go on. But once the queen escapes, I can probably start harassing the king. Actually, queen a4, I'll have to block the check. But if we imagine queen a4, bishop d7, I guess we don't have to imagine because it's on the board. The queen, the pawn, and the other pawn are all attacked. So I'll probably end up taking one of the pawns with check. Queen to b3. Yeah, let's take on d3 with check. Hitting f2. And this is really tempting to take. I don't think I can resist. I'm already beginning to calculate some like castle queenside with checkmate. Let's take here. Can I set it up? Check. Bishop here. Oh, it's close. Let's start with check. The king has to move up the board. White has 2 legal moves. And now I check again. Actually, wait a minute. Can I... Queen f4, the king runs back. Yeah, let's play bishop g7. I am trying to win in style, like castling and checkmating the king on the d file. Although castling is not mate because there's king e7. How badly do I want it? Check there. Okay, let's just castle. It's not checkmate, but it will be a pretty brutal finish. Rook e8. Actually, this is checkmate in 1. Okay. So the king entered the wrong neighborhood in this game. Bong clouded in my territory. Very pleasant finish. Hopefully another instructive example of how to punish the Wayward Queen attack. Yeah, so to be honest, d5 was probably not the best move. I was trying to set up the trick that if white takes with the pawn, then bishop f5 is a skewer against c2, and then inevitably knight takes c2 will come with a fork. But white responded appropriately. The position was actually close to equal around here, but probably still more pleasant for black. So let's keep it going. Up to 636. Playing Mick 760. Should I try a queenward way attack? A wayward queen attack myself? Only once. This will be the only time this speedrun. It is, I guess, an effective opening at the beginner level. In this case, I'm not mating immediately, but I do win the e5 pawn. Now, it's actually interesting that black does kind of get away with this, and black is a bit quicker to develop. This is maybe a playable gambit against a wayward queen attack. My queen is not super comfortable on e5. But I want to try and win quickly here. Let's play bishop c4. Focus on development. I'll put my queen on g3. And the goal is to attack the king side as quickly as possible. Black is attacking me. Yeah, that's actually not a bad move. If I played this, there's this. I might go for that. Queen f3. Yeah, there's some funny lines where it doesn't happen, where I would like sack the rook on a1 and try and attack. I think in this case, if I play knight e2, there's knight e5. And g4 comes to mind. Yeah, knight e2 would be a big blunder because knight e5 would win my bishop. All right, let's play d3. Preparing to develop the other bishop. The goal is to attack the rook, make it move, and then win f7. But if black plays accurately like this, or even this, I'll have to probably retreat. At 95, good move. Yeah, black is playing decently well to fend off my threats, get initiative. But I do have a pretty stable setup now. And unfortunately for my opponents, yeah, that's a free knight. Sometimes at this rating level, it's easy to miss the more long distance moves. Sometimes players are focused too much on one specific area and miss something. In this case, the undeveloped bishop. Now missing the queen attacking g4. There is d5 though to win back the piece. d6 is a little bit more passive, and yeah, now I'm happy to be up 2 pieces. And I think I'll revert to my original plan of targeting f7. Play bishop h6, attack the rook. If it moves, then it's checkmate in 2. Okay. So I think that's going to be the first and last time I play this Wayward Queen Attack in this series. It's just not an opening that I think players should pursue. I mean, it's like a kind of a one-trick opening. You can beat noobs in 4 moves if they're not careful. Like if they play this and this and this, you checkmate. There's also the trap if g6, then queen takes e5, and white wins a rook. My opponent did lose a pawn. Interestingly, the engine says this is playable for black. And maybe I'll have to try this Gambit in a future game, because things could develop quickly and black could just take over control. So anyway, up to 651. Let's keep it going. Playing Matthew Sagi. Almost played the London by muscle memory, but we have another king's pawn. This time I'll go for a Danish Gambit. We'll see if my opponent wants to accept all the way. The very first game of this speedrun, my opponent got to this position, I think played knight c6. But here my opponent takes all the pawns, so I am down 2 pawns. But the whole point of the Danish Gambit is to have the really nice bishops aimed at black's kingside. But it still takes some work to make use of the bishops. And very often it's a matter of still developing and seizing the initiative. So e5 looks pretty attractive here. Chase away the knight. I could castle and sacrifice another pawn. But I'm going to go for e5. I'm not too scared of these checks. There's always knight d2 to block the check and complete development. Black plays d5. This is a common counterattack in a lot of different king's pawn openings. I don't think it's great for black here because my bishop is supporting the pawn. And actually, I'm not sure. Maybe it is playable. Because if I end up taking and forking, there's bishop to b4 check. So this is kind of surprisingly complicated. If I play queen e2, there's bishop e6. So I have an idea. I mean, I could also trade queens and then take, but still bishop b4, and then black's going to save the rook. So my idea is to set up a small trap in the position to play this first. Yeah, let's do this. And the trap is I'm kind of hoping for queen takes d1. After king takes d1, then there's no more bishop check and I'd be forking. In this case, I can win the bishop. Although I don't want to trade queens. But if I play this and the king defends. So I guess I will trade queens. take away black's casting rights, and then I'll win the bishop on g7. But the game goes on. Yeah, rook e8. I don't want to block and allow some f6 move. Actually debating here. If I play king d1, it's a bit awkward. King f1 is also kind of awkward. I'm going to play king d1 because I want to get my rook in. I think eventually the king might land here or here to open the d1 square. But this is a playable position for black. Has a 4-on-1 majority on the queen side. All right, let's complete development. Attacking the pawn. Probably expecting this move, pawn b5. But black allows me to take, which I'm happy to do. And even though queens are off the board, I was going to say there's still maybe potential to create a mating net. Also potential for tactics. Bishop f6 pins a rook to the king. So I will be winning more material. Now there is a kind of important principle in chess, is when you're pinning a piece, you don't necessarily have to take the piece right away. Very often it's nice to leave the pin, let the opponent suffer. If king e8, then I'll take the rook. Probably same case with this because my bishop's attacked. And get my rook into play, aligning with the king. And I think now I'll just slide over to c1. On c2, there's potential for black to check it. c1 seems pretty safe. I do want to get my other rook into play as well. Okay, black is maybe trying to set up this move, but I am controlling d3. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And I'm happy to trade. I could take this pawn or this pawn. I'm going to start by taking a7, because now this and this are hanging. I can take this with check. And let's try and win as efficiently as possible here. But this is the first game of the series that's entering the endgame. I think the longest game thus far. All right, probably best to make a new queen. If here, then it's checkmate. Okay. So no need to make a new queen there. Okay. Do I end the episode on 666? Very lucky rating. Very quickly, let's check out this game. Yeah, at some point I'll probably show how black should face the Danish Gambit, because it is an opening that a lot of players struggle with, especially if the player doesn't know any opening theory. This game was definitely very interesting. d5 was playable. And yeah, just to show the trick that I was trying to set up is if queen takes d1, king takes d1, then I'm winning the bishop or rook, because this is no longer check. But black could have played bishop to b4, save the bishop, and then after knight d2, save the rook. And this would have been a very complex position. White's still probably doing well. I'd probably end up castling and go for the e-file, but it's super crazy. There's actually c3 here, maybe winning material, but I have like this and this coming. So probably a position beyond my level of understanding, and not a position that usually gets at this rating level. But anyway, yeah, once I won material, life was good. And yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the games today. If you have questions, leave them below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.